The French Dispatch. Now, The French Dispatch is the latest film by visionary director Wes Anderson. I always look forward to seeing what he has up his sleeve every single time a film comes out that he does. And I know he likes to experiment because beyond the comedy dramas that he's done, he's also done animation, having previously done Fantastic Mr. Fox and Isle of Dogs. And I feel as though this one could be something that's very Wes Anderson, if you know what I'm saying. It really was. It was actually very, very good. So The French Dispatch is the name of a fictional newspaper, and the story is basically a collection of their published articles as they are republished and recounted by reporters at the request of its editor-in-chief, Arthur Howitzer Jr., who had recently died of a heart attack. And in this case, for the cinema, we see these 3 stories come to life. So these stories are chapters and they star different actors. As this is a film that centres on a newspaper and stories written by journalists, this is basically Wes Anderson's love letter to that industry. Now, for those who've seen a Wes Anderson film in the past will know that he has a very unique and very bizarre kind of style where his storytelling is original, that's almost like visual poetry. He has an ensemble cast where the vast majority of them return, and also the way he makes his films in many ways are done almost like a stage production. Because the camera does move to one side, because sets do move, you understand how it really manifests the ways in how a stage production works in front of a live audience. And just the way the film is framed, you can just feel that it has some similarities to what a stage production looks like. But from a cinematic perspective, The French Dispatch is a very self-indulgent Wes Anderson film because he does incorporate numerous different elements of film production. Many moments were black and white, even though there were times when I was a little bit confused as to why there were often jumps between black and white. There was obviously the difference between how it was framed in terms of the classic TV and the widescreen ratio, and there was also animation as well. The reason for that was because those particular sequences, as addressed in the film, were adapted as comics within the film, so it did make sense. So as I say, it was a very self-indulgent Wes Anderson film. And given the fact that these are stories based on the magazine, it tells us a lot about the magazine itself, the kind of stories that they would publish. It tells us a lot about the editor-in-chief and also how viewers perceive journalism in general, because the media can just write anything these days, right? As we know, in the press, British press, American, etc., they can just pipe up stories, whether they're true or whether they're just rumours. And that really kind of shows that perception, because there were some aspects that were deemed unrealistic, but would be typically written in the press to create a story, and you got that through some of these characters. And as this is an ensemble cast featuring actors from 3 different chapters, there's not a particular leading role in it, so I'm just going to go through it and highlight which ones stand out for me from performance and from characterizations. The character of Moses, who was played by Benicio del Toro, he was a really interesting one because Del Toro is quite well known for playing a villain, and in this one he's someone who takes quite a warped path, really, I think, because he is a murderer but is also a famous painter. So he has this special talent, but he also has a specialty of painting nude portraits of Simone, played by Léa Seydoux, who is the prison guard. That in itself is bizarre from the imagination of Wes Anderson, but as it's also a piece of an article written by the press in the film, and as I've already mentioned, they can write anything they want, they can say what they want, because it would make a good story, it seems fitting for it. And Del Toro's performance I thought was brilliant, and he really captured that essence of weirdo, and you just get that from a lot of films that he's in, and he just delivered a fantastic performance, and I really liked his character. Now, Tilda Swinton, she also features in the Concrete Masterpiece storyline, and she plays the journalist J.K.L. Berenson, who actually wrote the article, The Concrete Masterpiece, for The French Dispatch. Now, she pitches this story to an audience. Now, whether it's a news conference or a university lecture, I don't know. But even her character, as the author of the story, you could just see that she was quite unusual and quite strange and quite quirky. And when you've got the characters within the story who are that, the authors are going to be even more so, because they're the ones creating the story, and that's what you got with Tilda Swinton's performance. And she's very good at doing things like that, where you kind of see her as this very serious actress, but she's also quite transparent in the sense that she can be quite quirky as well, and very unique and different. And I think because she's a frequent collaborator of Wes Anderson, I think he really oozes that out of Tilda Swinton, and that's why I think she deserves credit for playing this character. Another great performance is Frances McDormand, who plays Lucinda Crements, who is the publisher of Revisions of a Manifesto, which is the second storyline within the film. And her character's interesting because, as well as being the reporter of the story, she is actually within the story as well. So it's almost semi-autobiographical that her story is in the French Dispatch while she's also reporting it as well. And with that in mind, you saw Frances McDormand as this hard-as-nails journalist who pretty much controlled the entire sequence, and you could feel that through her performance. Now, Jeffrey Wright deserves a mention as well, as he plays Robert Wright, who is the publisher of the final storyline. He tells the story via a television interview, and while he has a very different physical appearance in this film beyond anything that we've seen so far from him, it's actually one of his best performances, and he just delivered an absolutely brilliant job, and I really liked his character as well. Overall, The French Dispatch was actually very, very good. It was really enjoyable, and it probably was about as Wes Anderson as any Wes Anderson film could possibly get. What did you think of The French Dispatch? Did you think it was as good as any other films that he's done in the past? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, if you do go on to enjoy this video, then please hit the like button and subscribe for more, and have a notification bell tick so you're notified when I upload a new video. And I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, everybody.